So what does it actually mean to be a man of God? Nobody ever sat you down and told you what a man of God actually is. Not a list of rules, not a Bible verse tapped into a mirror, an actual answer. So you went looking. Maybe you found it in the gym, a podcast, in a guy on your screen telling you to dominate everything in your path. Or maybe you just found nothing at all and you've just been guessing and wondering. Well, I spent years guessing, but today we're not guessing anymore. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what scripture means when it calls a man godly. Not a vague Sunday school version, not the manosphere version, the real one. Where it comes from, what it costs, and why it starts with who you are, not what you do. So here's where most of us get it backwards. We think that being a man of God is a performance metric, right? We need to pray enough, we need to read enough, sin less, hit some invisible score, and eventually we've made it. But that's not actually where the Bible starts. It actually starts with identity. In Genesis 1, verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. So before Adam did one single thing, before he led anyone, before he worked, before he failed, he already carried the image of God. That was given to him, not earned. So that distinction really matters more than almost anything else in this whole conversation. Because if your manhood is something you perform, you're always one bad week away from completely losing it. But if it's something that you carry, given to you by God Himself, you can fail and still know who you are. Think about Dark Souls for a second. Every player who's touched that game knows the feeling, right? You die. The screen says, you died. And it feels final, but it isn't. The death isn't the end of the character, it's just information. You get back up with the same identity, the same build, and you go again. You keep trying, right? So that's what most men never get told about failure. We treat it like it's the death screen, ended the end of the run. But scripture treats it like data, something to learn from, something that defines you. So if you walked into this video unsure whether you qualify as a man of God, it's the wrong question. The image was already given. The real question is, what are you going to do with it? But here's the tension that nobody resolves for you. If identity is given, why does the Bible spend so much time telling men to act a certain way? If it's already true, why does it need to be lived out? That's because identity that never shows up in action is being denied. It's being wasted. In 1 Corinthians 16 verse 13 it says plainly, watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, be strong. It's 4 commands. Watch, stand, be brave, be strong. So Paul isn't describing a feeling, he's describing a posture. A man of God isn't someone who has the right internal vibe, he's someone whose identity has weight behind it. So this is where a lot of us get pulled into two directions. The church at times has made a godly man sound like soft, passive, quiet, agreeable. That's almost the opposite of strength. The outside world And the church sells you the opposite extreme: dominance, conquest, never showing weakness, strength without real direction behind it. So both of those are counterfeits. Watch what God of War did in Kratos in the 2018 reboot. The whole arc isn't getting stronger, it's carry your strength with restraint, right? Because now you have someone depending on you, right? Kratos has his son who's depending on him. He needs to show that restrained strength. We know what he's capable of, but he's trying to teach restraint, right? He doesn't get less powerful as a father, he just gets more dangerous and more careful at the same time. That's the tension that scripture is actually describing. Strength under direction, not just strength for its own sake. So a man of God isn't soft. He's not reckless either. He's the guy who has real strength and uses it on purpose. So that's the part that nobody handed to us, right? We got two cartoons, the doormat or the tyrant. Nobody showed us the third option, which is the only one that's actually biblical. So if it's not passive and it's not dominant or domination, what does it actually look like lived out? Where nobody's watching you and there's no audience to perform for. This is the part that I had to relearn the hard way. A man of God is built in private long before he is tested in public. So Scripture's clearest moral of this is Jesus Christ himself. Before 3 years of public ministry that obviously changed everything, there were decades that nobody really wrote about. Decades of an ordinary life, an ordinary trade, formed in obscurity. Luke 2 verse 52 says, "And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature, and in favor with God and men." So that's it. No miracle in that verse. No crowd, just growth. Quietly, before anyone was even watching him. So here's the anchor point of this whole video, right? We treat the public moment, the speech, the stand you take, the decision everyone sees, we treat that as the actual test, but it isn't. It's just the reveal. The test has already happened alone in the thousands of small little choices that, nobody ever saw, right? Every serious RPG you've ever played teaches you this without even saying it, right? You don't walk into the final boss with stats that you haven't built, right? The grind, the unglamorous hours that you put into strength, into discipline, into whatever build that you were committing to, right? That's not just the warm-up, that's not the warm-up to the story. That is the whole story. The boss fight just shows everyone what you already built. Right? You have to go through all the progression to actually get to the boss fight, right? The boss fight is amazing and everyone talks about the boss fight, but you have to build. You have to build all the stats before you get there, before you're ready. So that's the identity in motion. Not a slogan, not a personality that you put on for church. A character built in private that holds up the moment it's tested. Okay. So here are 3 things that actually mark a man of God in order. So number 1, his identity is settled before the moment arrives, not just scrambled together in it. Okay. Number 2, his strength has direction. It serves something outside of himself, his God, his family, and the people who can't defend themselves. Number 3, he's the same man alone that he is in front of people. There's no performance gap. Now, that third one is the hardest, and that's the one that most of us are probably still working on. myself included. Okay, I'm not gonna just be here and pretend that I've got it all fully sorted out. I haven't. But I know that that's the target. And I know guessing isn't just good enough anymore. So, what do you actually do with this today? Not someday, not when life slows down, but actually today. Here's the one thing, right? Find one place this week where nobody's watching and act like the man that you say you want to be anyway. Okay? So that might be how you talk to your wife when you're tired and nobody's around. You choose patience. That might be the thing on your phone that you only look at in private. That might be getting up before everyone else to actually pray instead of scrolling. It's small, it's unseen. But that's where this man gets built and where it could quietly become undone. In Colossians 3, verse 23, it puts a frame around this. It says, "And whatever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not to men." You're not doing this for an audience, not for a highlight reel, for God. So that's the whole shift that we need to make. You stop performing manhood for people who might be watching, and you start building it for the one who already sees you when no one else does. You don't need a stage for this. You don't need anyone to notice. In fact, the version that matters the most is the one that nobody ever finds out about. So, back to where we started. Nobody sat you down and told you what a man of God actually is. Here's the short version. It's not a performance that you put on. It's an identity you were given. The image of God Himself, lived out with strength that has direction built in the places that nobody's watching. Now, this is not from the finish line. I'm here in the middle of the climb, the same as you. I've gotten this wrong many times, okay? More than I've gotten it right. But I know what I'm aiming at now, and that's further than I was years ago, right? So we need to know what we're aiming for. So this week, do one thing. Find the unseen moment and choose who you actually want it to be. If this hits somebody, if you please remember to stick around and um, comment, subscribe if you want to walk with me for the rest of the way. And I will see you in the next one.